Welcome to Sydney Clinical Psychology's program, A Life Worth Living. Today we're going to discuss emotion regulation skills, and we're going to be covering the function of emotions. Many people who come to DBT see emotions as one big problem. They often say they'd like to get rid of emotions if they could. Without emotions, however, our lives would be much different and probably would be quite difficult. This is because emotions generally serve a number of important purposes, and what's more, specific emotions also have their own specific purposes or functions. Let's look first of all at the functions of emotions generally. The first function of emotions that we're going to have a look at is decision making. Emotions provide us with valuable information that we can put together with what we see, hear and think and so on. In this way, emotions play a crucial role in what we call wise mind. When all this information is put together, we're better able to make decisions. We can use our feelings, perhaps to follow our heart or follow our gut. Or you can decide that feelings of love rather than doubt should be the guide for what we do. The second general function of emotions is in the area of motivation. Emotions play a key driving force in our lives. They motivate us to act in many different ways. For example, being hungry motivates us to find food, while being anxious may motivate us to be careful. Similarly, being angry might motivate someone to take action about an important issue. Another aspect of motivation is urges. Almost everything we do is preceded by some sort of urge, which is an emotion of some sort. Try to notice what happens to you before you do something, like, for example, starting to talk, eat, walk, and so on. You'll notice that just before you act, there is a feeling or an urge. So in this way, emotions provide the drive for us to work, sleep, eat, play, and so on. And the third general function of emotions is in the area of communication. It's often said that communication is 10% verbal and 90% non-verbal. Both verbal and non-verbal aspects of communication are driven by our emotions. Just look at the different ways you can say, "How are you?" You can say it in an interested, dismissive, welcoming, angry, warm, or irritated manner. It's things like our tone of voice, our facial expressions, our body posture, and so on that all influence this. It's all these aspects of our emotions that determine the very subtle things of what we communicate. So each emotion also has an individual or specific function. Understanding this can help in many ways. Let's look at anger. What's the function or purpose of anger? It can have many functions. The first of which could be thought of to be protection. We often use anger to protect ourselves. Anger motivates us to fight or protect ourselves in a threatening situation. The second function of anger might be to stop a behaviour in another person. So getting angry at someone, or perhaps just expressing frustration, can stop someone acting in a certain way. For example, showing frustration may stop someone asking questions, making demands of us, or challenging us in some way. Expressing fear is also a function of anger, as anger is a way of expressing fear. When we're afraid, we may express anger in response if we are uncomfortable to expressing fear instead. For example, this could occur in a person when a person ends up being more vulnerable in certain situations when showing their fears or their worries. So now let's have a look at sadness. What could be the function of this emotion? Well, sadness is often said to be about loss. In feeling sad, we become aware of what's important to us. This probably had an important evolutionary function, since feeling sad about losing something like food, shelter, or the group we belong to would play an important role in making sure that we survive. This is because the sadness will then motivate us to find these things and keep them in the future. Similarly, we can feel sad about loss of a job, loss of a relationship, or loss of someone that we're close to. Each of these times, the sadness can help motivate us to find these things for ourselves in the future. So as you can see, each emotion has a specific function. Understanding the function of emotion can help us to validate the emotion, but it can also help us to gain important information from the way we are feeling. Now try to think of the function of some other main emotions. What I want you to do is think about the other main emotions, and I'm writing them down now. Write down how the emotion might be helpful and what information it may provide you with. So having a think about guilt, love, joy and fear.